Alrighty, folks. So today we're going to do a mini lecture about the Marshall Plan. So we're going to start off by introducing who General Marshall is. Marshall over here is this handsome devil to our left. He was the Army Chief of Staff during the Second World War, and while he was there, he promoted Eisenhower, Patton, and Bradley to their positions of power. So if you want to make it big in the military, you need the advice of Mr. Marshall. Under President Truman, who replaced Franklin Roosevelt, he became the Secretary of State. So in 1945, World War II comes to an end in Europe. We have two major powers kind of controlling Europe. We have the United States over here, and we have the USSR, or what is now Russia, over here. Russia is led by Joseph Stalin, and America, as we've already established, is led by Truman. So, as Hitler's regime collapsed, these two powers are trying to take as much of Europe as possible. Right? Stalin is moving in and taking these countries under the control of Russia. So the tension between America and the USSR, where they're both fighting to try and kind of get the countries out of Europe to be their allies, becomes the start of what's called the Cold War. Winston Churchill, who we've talked about extensively in our earlier unit, says that an iron curtain has descended upon Europe. Okay, it's this really famous speech he gives to the Americans warning about the danger of the Soviet Union. Hitler, as we remember, was Winston Churchill's guy that he wanted to attack right away, right? Churchill wanted to take down Hitler. So his concern is that Russia's going to do the same thing and they need to take it down early and quick. So the question becomes, how do we stop countries from falling to the USSR, right? The USSR has all these tanks and all these soldiers out. They did most of the fighting during World War II. How do we stop them? Because it doesn't really seem worth the risk to go into a World War III over this. And so Marshall comes up with his famous Marshall Plan. It's all about the money, the cause and solution to all of life's problems. So essentially what happens in the Marshall Plan is that they decide they're going to give Western Europe a ton of money to give it back, help it get back on its feet and kind of go into the American fold. So we can see here they focus on a few main things: agriculture, industry, and trade. So we can look around here, we can see some of the countries that got access to Marshall Plan money. We've got the UK, which, as we remember, was bankrupted fighting Hitler, France, which had collapsed under Hitler, and surprisingly, we have Germany, which is getting all of its funding so that it doesn't become a communist puppet. Germany is split into two halves. There's an Eastern Germany, controlled by the Soviet Union, and a Western Germany, controlled by the United States. And so over here, I wanted to show some of the Marshall Plans. So we can see here the dark areas receive more money. So you can see that Germany and Italy, those countries that got defeated at the end of the Second World War, start receiving a lot of money from the United States. And the reason, again, is to stop the Soviets from going any further. The UK and France also receive a huge amount, and that's because they were bankrupted defeating the Germans. And so lastly, I just want to leave you briefly with this political cartoon. Okay, so we see this guy in the back. Back here there's a building shouting Marshall Plan delay. So I'm assuming that this guy is going to be this guy is Western Europe, and the back here is the Congress, right? This is the Capitol building. Over here we have the bear. Russia's national symbol is the bear. So this cartoon is by Edwin Marcus from the New York Times, and I want you to think to yourself, what is the overall meaning of this cartoon? While the shadow lengthens, Russia is going over Western Europe, and it says Marshall Plan delay. And so once again, we're going to return to the idea that World War II is all about the resources, right? America's pouring money into these countries to fight Russia. Hitler was expanding to get resources. World War II is all about the control of the resources, so we need to remember that when we talk about the beginnings of the Cold War. All right, thanks guys. Good luck with your studying.